everyone, it's Dawn and welcome back. I know I've been away for a whole week, as I said. I've caught up with most of my jobs, but here in the UK, we've had a couple of days of rain this week, and so the days I planned to do the garden were the days it rained. So I've done everything else, I just haven't done my garden. But have I gone a whole week without crafting? No, of course I haven't. So what I have been doing on days when I couldn't go outside to play in the garden or to work in the garden, I've been designing some of my own. I've had a go at designing my own papers and a couple of other products. So I thought I'd show you what I've been up to while I've been absent from YouTube. So this is one of my papers. I'm calling this a delicate lace paper. And I won't go through it. Well, I'll show you. I'll just briefly tell you how I designed this one. All this I did with this, I had a very pale, I suppose you call it a beige ink, which it's an ink pad, which I just rubbed over the whole of, this is an A4 paper. I laid some strips of very delicate lace over my printer, put my coloured paper over the top and hit the colour button, and there, hey presto, we have our own delicate lace paper, which I can now photocopy whenever I want to use it. So that's one of them, so I'll just put that to one side. I'll put it up there. And I've done another lace, which I'm calling a gold lace paper. And that's much the same way. I didn't use any coloured paper this time. I just laid strips of gold lace on my printer and hit the colour copier. So that was literally as simple as that. But the others are a bit more structured, if that's the right word. So my next one I'm calling a vintage rose paper. Now with this, I had a lot of fun with this one. I'm not really one for wearing makeup because I've got rather dodgy skin, very sensitive skin, which doesn't take to makeup terribly well. But my wonderful friends and family keep giving me makeup for Christmas and birthday presents because they don't know what to give me. And I didn't like to not use it. So what I've done with this one, this was like a blusher that I suppose you put it on your face. And I think I've got that upside down. Yes, I have. That's a good start, isn't it? So there we go. That's the right way around for you. And what I did with this one, I used my blusher. Obviously, I had to wear gloves. This is a print. This is a photocopy print. And I just rubbed it into the paper to give it a tone. And in my stamp collection, I've got a wonderful pack, or a wonderful sheet. It's about an A4 sheet of vintage style stamps. And so I did do that. And I used my stamps. And I think, do you know what? I think I had that paper around the right way the first time. But I think what I've done, I think I've just realised what I've done. I've done this script, and I think I did the script upside down, but it doesn't really matter what way it goes. So we'll keep it that way for the time being. But anyway, I used my script. It's a stamp from the vintage pack. And I used my rose, and I used the leaves. And to colour it in, I used my alcohol pens for that. So I had great fun with that. And even this textured bit here, that's a stamp, which you can actually stamp that textured section onto. So that's one of my papers, and the only other paper I've designed, I'm calling it a sunflower paper, because that's basically what it is. It's a sunflower paper. And again, I had some lace. This isn't real lace. This is a stamp. This is a lace stamp, which I stamped several times down one side. Again, I used my blusher to colour the middle, used my script, and I had some stamps of the sunflowers. And again, I used my alcohol markers to colour them in. And this time what I've done, I have used it to make a backing paper for a greeting card, also with a sunflower on it. So if I just show you, if I lay it like that, you can see what I've done. This is just a photograph of a sunflower, which I got from my album. And if I take that away, but put it to one side, you can see how I've used it. I've just cut it down. I just printed this off again and cut it down to size. This is a 5x7. Used a piece of coordinating card from another one of my paper packs and popped this on top with a bit of foam. So that's the papers. That's what I've done with my papers, and I'll pop them up there out the way. And I've got a couple of other projects to show you, or products to show you, I should say. Now this is a little notepad. There's nothing particularly special about it. It's just a 6x4 notepad. And I use my papers and some butterfly stickers. And this is just ordinary plain printer paper. And I bound, you can't really see how I bound them, but I bound the edges, or the top edge, with tacky glue until it's stuck. But there is something a little bit different about this in the fact that it's a magnetic. I cut a couple of magnetic strips. So I've got my magnetic, oh, well, it's not really a magnetic, but I've got my metal ruler here. So if I put that on there and hold it up, you can see it will stick to anything metal. So if you want to make these, they're quite handy for sticking on the fridge, for putting little notes on the fridge, things like that. So there we go. And I've made an album, a little mini album. I'm going to call it an envelope album because that's what I made it out of. This is a ribbon flower, which I actually did do a little bit of stitching, which is very rare. These are little magnet strips. These are just some free papers which I downloaded. And I'll give you a quick look inside. I cut some little tags from, these were just papers I had in my own stash, these little ones. And I made some little tags so you can write some little messages. And I made the envelopes up. I made these envelopes up out of these gorgeous papers. And inside, what I did, this part here would have been the envelope flap. And I've just folded it over and glued it on the inside and used it as like a tag. And I've got some ordinary plain copier paper in here, so you can make notes, write notes on it, add pictures, add some photographs. And it's much the same throughout, really. It's just that the little tags are different. Oh, and at the front here, I made a little pocket which came as part of the set, and I've made some little tags from the papers. And oops, so we've done that. And again, there are some papers in there, and I've added some paper on the back just to give it a bit of interest and to line it, and of course to make it a bit thicker. And these papers came with the downloads that I got. And again, I've put some paper in here, and that's the last one, so it's much the same really. And on the back, again, I've got a little pocket with some little tags. You can write on the tags if you want to. And there's my magnet, and so it closes up like that, and the magnet snaps on like that. I'm going to put that one out of the way. And the last thing I've made, in fact, I'm going to put these papers out of the way because I can see them flying onto the floor at any second. So the last thing that I've made is, I'm going to call it a vintage style letter writing set. Now this, I actually drew and painted this myself. Well, it wasn't very difficult, but I used the inspiration for this. It's obviously an envelope with a little rose on it, but that was inspired by a stamp that I've got in my collection, and that's that stamp there. And what I've done, I'll give you a quick look at what I've done. I've printed out some, this was wrapping paper. This bit here was wrapping paper. I know it's not very easy to see, it's quite fine. And I put some printer paper on the front and just cut it down a bit smaller. And I used that as my stamp. That was my stamp. That's the stamp that inspired that front picture. That was the stamp. And I coloured it with the same colour. Again, I used alcohol markers. And once I finished this layout, I just put it through my copier and printed the whole thing in colour. So it gives us a single colour image. And what I've done, some of you may be too young to remember this. Now, back in the days before we had computers and the like, we had letter writing sets and we had writing pads. And you had these wonderful thick lines. And what you did, let's just pop that to one side. You put that down like that. You put your lined paper underneath your writing paper. I'm not sure if you can see that. Hopefully you can, just about. And you could use them so you could write. You could write your letter in straight lines. But that was the days before we had computers. Those of us that are young enough to remember computers, or before computers. So there we go. So that's just really a sort of sample model. I haven't really glued that down very well, which is why that bit's coming up. So I will do that. I shall get on with that. And I've made a pen loop, as you can see there. That's just a piece of card which I've wrapped around the pen and stuck it down. And I've made some, I suppose you call them note cards. Again, with the same image. I've just drawn it on a bit smaller. So there we go. There is our image, and there is our letter writing set. And at the back, I've just put some envelopes in. I didn't make them; these are shop bought envelopes. I'm not that conscientious. So I'll bring in some of the other bits and pieces that we've got, and perhaps one or two of our papers. I don't think I'm going to get it all in one shot or all in one screen. So perhaps I'll bring one of those in, one of the lace ones. So there we go. That's just a quick overview of the crafty things I've been doing while I've been off YouTube. So when I come back on Thursday, we will get straight back on with our regular tutorials. and we'll get straight into another crafting project because I know they seem to be quite popular. They're more popular than the art ones, which is absolutely fine. So we'll get straight into another crafting project on Thursday. So I hope you've enjoyed this and enjoyed seeing what I've been up to craft-wise while I've been off YouTube. And I will see you Thursday. So enjoy the rest of the week. Have fun, everybody. And as always, happy crafting. Bye-bye for now.